Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So I'm back with another video, and I feel like Drake back to back. Yeah, so I'm doing this is probably going to be my last video tonight. And when I get up in the morning, there's some more videos that I want to do. So I hope I'm not flooding the market with too many videos. And it's late right now, so it may not be a lot of people tuning in right now. But I had to talk about this story before I went to sleep. This is about Donald Trump and how he's using the post office to suppress the voters. He's cutting back at a time when the post office is going to be relied upon for these mail-in ballots. We know that there's a pandemic going on. And because of that, it's not safe for people to go to the polls. We're supposed to be practicing social distancing to avoid exposure to this deadly virus, COVID-19. So because of that, a lot of jurisdictions are having mail-in elections. They're giving people the option to mail in their ballots on election day. And according to a lot of talk about this virus, there's a real possibility that there may be a second wave to this virus, and it may come around the time of election day. And we're still dealing with this first wave that hasn't been, reduced substantially. It's still there. The virus is still there. We still have, there's still no vaccine in sight, no vaccine available to the public. That virus is still alive, even though because of social distancing, numbers have gone down in terms of infections in certain places, and many of the places that have been open, that have, haven't clamped down and, strictly enforced social distancing. Many of those places are seeing spikes in people getting this virus. So this is no joke. And because of that, a lot of jurisdictions are relying on the mail to get out their ballots to the public, and for people to ship their ballots in to the Board of Elections. And recently the top attorney for the post office sent a letter to like 46 states saying that they are not going to be able to meet these deadlines. They're not going to be able to deliver the ballots in time to meet certain deadlines. And this comes at a time when you have Donald Trump enforcing different changes within the post office. He has, he appointed a political operative to head the post office, somebody who's a campaign donor, one of the major donors to his campaign. He's appointed them to this position. And basically what they are doing is trying to help Donald Trump remain in power. Now, Donald Trump has expressed concerns about people voting by mail, claiming that it's room for a lot of fraud and that people use the mail to fraudulently vote and all that kind of stuff. And there have been these experts that have pointed out how that's just not true. It's a lie. And, Donald Trump is prone to lying about things, especially the election. He lied during the Hillary Clinton during his campaign against Hillary Clinton. He talked about how illegals were voting and all that kind of stuff. So this man is creating this lie. And what we're seeing now is that you have the post office actually removing post office mailboxes from the street. There are pictures of trucks pulling away these mailboxes. And then you also have mail sorting machines being removed from post offices. And, the post office has been calling for more funding to accommodate this increased mail that they're going to receive as a result of the upcoming election and as a result of COVID-19. And Donald Trump is literally holding up the funds because he doesn't want mail-in ballots, because he's claiming that there's going to be some fraud. And all he's trying to do is cling on to power. And it's like he doesn't care nothing about the American people and their right to vote. He is only concerned about himself. He doesn't care about the people who need the mail to get crucial things through the mail. He's making it take longer for citizens to get their mail. So what I want to do is show you a couple of stories, a couple of news articles, read from these articles. Also, I want to point out that President Obama has made some statements, against what Donald Trump is doing. I'm going to read a couple of those statements for you all, and I'm really interested in hearing from y'all. But this is a serious situation. I mean, this election is not that far from now, and this man is basically trying to undermine this so-called democracy. He's trying to make it harder for people to vote by mail, so that he can remain in power. So let's look at some of these articles. I'm going to start off with this one from Vice. So let me share my screen. One of my Facebook friends tagged me when they posted this article. I think, it was this article. This is one article. There's a couple of more. Let me just stop sharing for a second because I want to pull up another article. So just bear with me one second. That's another related article. Yeah, I don't think that was the one. Oh, here's the one where they tagged me. Yeah, that wasn't the right one. So let me share again. Okay, so this is the article that I was referring to. And there's several other articles. You'll see this article talks about a citizen captured footage of the post office removing mailboxes from the street. You see this, and you see this image right here, this truck, this loaded up with all these mailboxes. Now they claim that they were removing mailboxes because a lot of people aren't using the mail because of COVID-19. And they claim that they were removing mailboxes that were very close together and all that kind of stuff. That's what they claim, but we know what they're doing. They're trying to make it more difficult for people to cast their ballots by mail. And as I said before, they're also removing mail sorting machines that will be crucial in sorting all the ballots that come into the post office. So this particular article points out, how this person captured this footage. And also, in other articles, it points out how they're removing a lot of these mailboxes from places like Portland. They say like 4 were removed from Portland, and then 27 were removed from Eugene, which is in Oregon as well. And then, I read other reports where they're removing them all around the country, and they're removing these mail sorters. And it goes on to say this, it has an admission from Donald Trump. But I'm going to read through this real quick. It says, the news station confirmed that the post office had 4 boxes removed from Portland streets and 27 removed from Eugene, as I was saying before. And it says Thursday morning, President Trump admitted he wants to block money from the U.S. Postal Service in an effort to make it harder to process mail-in ballots during the November 2020 election. So it's like this man is using the post office as a part of his arsenal in his campaign. And I just think that that's despicable. It is despicable that we have somebody like this in office that is trying to slow down the mail process in order to win an election. And I'm glad that President Obama came out hard against this and, spoke out against what Donald Trump is doing. And I'll read you some of those quotes in a second. And this is just a reminder of what's at stake in this election. Here you have a president that's trying to sabotage the voting process, and you still got some confused people out here saying they don't know who they're voting for, or got all this criticism for um, Kamala Harris. But here you had this guy, deliberately attacking our right to vote. Um, but I don't see these same people posting any videos about this, talking about what he's doing, trying to sabotage the vote. So let's go to another article. There's like 4 articles that I want to focus on for this video right here. So this article from Vice says that the post office is deactivating mail sorting machines ahead of election. It says the U.S. Postal Service is removing mail sorting machines from facilities around the country without an official explanation or reason given. And they talked about how they learned through interviews with post office workers and union officials that that's what's going on. And it talks about these same machines would have been used to task in sorting out ballots. And it calls into questions statements made by the postmaster where he was saying that they would have ample capacity to handle the predicted surge in mail-in ballots. But here they are getting rid of these sorting machines. And this goes on to talk about how this particular news source identified 19 mail sorting machines from 5 processing facilities all across the United States. And from what I understand, that there have been far more than that are being removed from post offices. So it again talks about how even the local union officials, they talk about how the post office has not announced any policy. They haven't explained why they're doing this, what will happen to the machines and the workers who use them, nor has management provided any rationale for dismantling and removing the machines from the facility. So this is a very serious situation. And I'm going to go on to President Obama's statements in a second, which point out like how serious this is. And this goes on to say this, this article says, while the consequences of this new policy are mostly unclear for now, it neatly fits the sudden, opaque, and drastic changes made by the postmaster, who is a longtime Republican fundraiser and a Trump donor. In the less than 2 months that he's been postmaster general, changes like these have, such as curtailing overtime, have resulted in widespread mail delays and sudden reorganization of the entire post office. So there have been all these delays and all that kind of stuff right before the election. So let's see if there's some other points that I want to highlight before I move on to the other articles. Yeah, so that's one article. And then I'm going to go into what Obama had to say about this situation. Obama basically said that Donald Trump is actively kneecapping the Postal Service to affect mail-in voting in the 2020 election. And he urged lawmakers and citizens to take actions to protect the integrity of the election. He accused, Donald Trump are trying for years to discourage people's votes from counting in all kinds of ways. Well, he's saying Republicans in general. And then he goes on to say this. He said, what we've never seen before is a president say, I'm going to try to actively actively kneecap the Postal Service to encourage voting. And I will be explicit about the reason I'm doing it. And then he said that this is sort of unheard of. And then he also talked about how we haven't had an election in the midst of a pandemic that is still deadly and killing a lot of people. And then he talked about how one thing that he's worried about is how do we protect the integrity of the election process? How do we make sure that people's votes are counted? Because of this delay, a lot of votes may not be counted in this election. How do we police and monitor how state officials are setting up polling places and ensuring that everyone's vote is counted? And, this article goes on to talk about how Donald Trump has resisted congressional Democrats' efforts to add billions of dollars to the Postal Service budget to help fund the extra work that's needed to process all these ballots and stuff. So let's see. Hold on one second. I think this. Yeah, so that article was playing. Hold on. I hate when that kind of stuff happens because YouTube will try to, get you for copyright and all that stuff. So let me just go a little bit further in this article. And this article, again, points out how Donald Trump has repeatedly claimed that mail-in voting has been used in the United States since the Civil War invites fraud. And it says there is no evidence of widespread voter fraud in the United States, according to numerous investigations and studies. So, that's part of what Obama had to say. And here's another article that talks about what Obama had to say. Just bear with me. Hold on one second. I don't know why my computer is locking up all of a sudden. Hold on. Okay, there it is. Hold on one second. Just a minute, y'all. So it says now former President Obama is speaking out against Trump, argued that even if Trump was trying to give money to the UPS because of voting, UPS is still, not UPS, the US Postal Service is still suffering from the pandemic and needs money for other tasks. He talks about how everyone depends on the Postal Service, seniors for Social Security, veterans for their prescriptions, small businesses trying to keep their doors open. They can't be collateral damage for an administration more concerned with suppressing the vote than suppressing the virus. This administration, that's a great point. Because, this administration is really concerned about trying to suppress the vote. They don't care how it will impact others, how it will impact all types of mail that don't have anything to do with the voting process or the election. He's willing, President Trump is willing to, risk collateral damage in order to suppress the vote. And it seems like he's diverting so much more attention, devoting so much more attention to suppressing the vote than actually doing what's needed to suppress this virus, this plague in the United States. So I think that Obama is on point with that. So he has this tweet up here with that statement. So let's see if there's some more that I wanted to. And basically, he provides some advice. President Obama, he says that if you're in a state where you have the option to vote early, do that now. The more votes, the more people that vote in early, the less likely you're going to see a last minute crunch. And it's more likely that more votes will be permitted if you vote early. So don't wait until the last minute to try to vote. If you can vote early in your jurisdiction, you should do so. And this article points out how the Republican National Committee and conservative groups have initiated an all-out campaign of voter suppression and restriction for the November election. So, the fact that they're exerting, trying to suppress the votes and all that kind of stuff, again, is another reminder of how important our vote actually is. If our vote didn't matter, they would be like encouraged, they would be okay. They wouldn't be trying to suppress it. They would be like encouraging everybody to vote. Like there would be no kind of restrictions or no effort to suppress any votes if it didn't matter. And this goes on to talk about how the party is attempting to train 35,000 poll watchers to monitor in-person voting and ballot counting in predominantly key battleground states. So we've got a fight on our hands. I mean, this election is no joke. And I just hope that Congress takes the right action to counter these measures by the president. So I had to bring y'all that important story. I often talk about the importance of voting, and this is just another reminder of how important our vote is. We need to reach out to our members of the House of Representatives and the Senate to make sure that they're doing what's necessary to counter these measures that the president is trying to implement to suppress the vote. And, this whole thing of trying to cut back on the resources of the Postal Service, that's only one part of their strategy to suppress the vote. So again, like President Obama said, I encourage people to vote early. Shout out to Covina Man. Shout out to Elaine Lloyd. So so Elaine Lloyd said many Americans don't even realize that FedEx and UPS, Amazon use the US Postal Service. Something needs to happen. I agree that there needs to be some kind of accountability for what they're doing with the post office. Something has to happen there. I was wondering, like, if a lawsuit can be brought against the Trump administration for what they're trying to do with the post office. And I'm sure that like all these groups are trying to think of some kind of strategy to address this. But with it being so close to the election, I'm wondering if it's not too late to do something. But I think that if possible, they should bring some kind of legal action, or there should be some kind of law passed in Congress to address this situation before it gets really bad and thousands of people's votes be canceled because of what this man is doing. Yeah, so Elaine Lloyd said the polls have him scared, and maybe that's why he's doing what he's doing. But it's like I don't take comfort in these polls. Like I'm not gonna just assume that these polls are right because all the polls had Hillary Clinton over Trump. But yet on election day, we all were shocked and dismayed that Donald Trump won this election. Even people that didn't support Hillary Clinton, were completely shocked that this guy Donald Trump won because many people thought she had it on lock. Yeah, so Def Rocker said here in Jersey, many mailboxes have already been moved years ago. Yeah, yeah, and it's just something like nobody. No, I mean most people wouldn't have foreseen that we would need to use mail-in ballots to this extent. Nobody predicted that we would. I mean, most people didn't predict that we would have some pandemic like this. You had some experts and all that stuff, but the overall federal government didn't predict this. Like, the heads of the post office and, on the local level, the politicians on the local level, state level, and federal level, they didn't predict anything like this would happen. So right now, the question is whether or not the post office has the capacity to handle all this mail. And, Congress, again, is asking for billions of dollars to go to the post office so that they can upgrade to be able to accommodate this. But at the same time, you had this man, Donald Trump, stripping the post office of these vital resources that they have. Yeah, so somebody said that they recommend that people hand deliver their ballots to their clerk's office, or I guess in different places, it's the Board of Elections or the Secretary of State. Just find out your information in your jurisdiction. Yeah, that's a great point. Angela said the polls didn't take into account or into consideration Russian interference. And that's a very valid point. And speaking of Russian interference, I was wondering, like, part of me was like wondering why Donald Trump is like so against the post office or against people having these mail-in ballots. And part of me just wondered, like, is that because mail-in ballots are more difficult for Russians to intercept or to try to corrupt the vote and stuff like that. Whereas there have been reports about like security, the lack of adequate security around these voting machines. If people are able to access these voting machines, and breach securities on these voting machines, then the votes can be changed. And we know that the Russians were trying to support the Trump administration in the last election. And who's to say that that won't happen again? Not only with, these Russian bots on social media and all this propaganda that they have put up on social media to have people go against the Democratic candidate, but also outright tampering. Like so far, I don't think there's been any evidence of this, but this is something that I thought of as I saw Donald Trump trying to stop these mail-in ballots, because maybe he wants people to use the machine so that they can tamper with these machines or whatever. That's just a thought. I don't have any proof of that, but it's just something that I thought about. But yeah, this is a scary situation, man. You got this president, this basically a Russian operative, and then I've been seeing all this propaganda all on social media that reminds me of a lot of the stuff that was going on during the 2016 election. You got all this propaganda against Kamala Harris, and the thing that's so dangerous about the propaganda is that it's coming in a black face. So a lot of this propaganda against her is coming from people that appear to be black, and some of them, a lot of them who are actually black. And that's just going to undermine the vote. It's going to suppress the voting in the black community even further. You know, to the point where you got a lot of black people that may decide not to even vote because they have been, you know, bombarded with all this negative propaganda here on YouTube, propaganda on Facebook and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. You know, some of the most ridiculous and juvenile type of propaganda. For instance, like I saw people using thumbnails of birth certificates for Kamala. I think it was Kamala Harris's birth certificate or something, and it had the information about her parents, like had her mother listed as her race as Caucasian and her father listing his race as Jamaican, trying to suggest that they, you know, that in that birth certificate, you know, there was no identification of her as black or whatever. So why are people classifying her as black? All this foolishness, man. All this ridiculousness. People are all preoccupied with somebody's DNA and all that kind of stuff and their quote unquote degree of blackness. Then they seem to be more concerned with that than they are concerned with actual policies. And this just shows you like how dim-witted a lot of people are, man, and how easily deceived they are. And I'm not going to rehash what I said in my last video. I encourage you all to check out my, you know, the last couple of videos, the one that I did with my initial reaction to the election of, or actually not election, but the nomination of Kamala Harris for vice president. And also I did a video in response to a live stream that I was checking out where you had these hoteps talking all this trash about Kamala Harris. So I encourage you to check those out. They will be in the cards. So yeah, let's see what else people are saying before I sign out. Wow, it is late. I see that Covina Man is on West Coast time. Yeah, so DGK said that this is going to hurt Donald Trump's rule supporters, even though he's trying to hurt or suppress, you know, Democratic voters. It's going to hurt his rule supporters. And I don't see like how they're going to be able to separate this out because it's going to hurt a lot of Republicans as well. It's going to hurt their vote as well. But I mean, you got a lot of these people that don't even think this virus is real. A lot of these Republicans, I wouldn't be surprised if they would just, you know, actually show up to the polls because a lot of them, you know, actually go to the polling place instead of sending it in the mail because a lot of these people don't even think the virus is real. You know, as you all know, Donald Trump had that rally with where a lot of people weren't wearing masks and all that kind of stuff. A lot of his dim-witted supporters think that wearing a mask is some kind of symbol of oppression and you know, it's some kind of symbol of manhood not to wear a mask and all that kind of stuff. So in that sense, you know, they may be more likely to go to the polls, especially when you have like you know, a lot of people being discouraged from voting, you know, by people that should be encouraging them to vote. So I'm really concerned about voter turnout. Shout out to True Royal Family. Thanks for tuning in. So somebody put on here like, do you not understand you support a platform of pedophilia protectors? So you must be one of those conspiracy wackos. Like, you know, there was a news report about these wackos that believe in some kind of, you know, Pizzagate and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, all this nonsense. And they believe this man named Q is fighting against the deep state and all that kind of stuff. You must be one of those people, like one of those people that wear those aluminum hats so people can't read your mind, all that stuff, or believe that reptiles are running the U.S. government and, you know, Illuminati and all that other foolishness. Yeah, so yeah, so this is my house, like I don't allow people to disrespect me in my house. Like I'm fine with people disagreeing with me, but if you try to call me names and all that kind of stuff, or come here with some stupid stuff like that, then I'm just gonna make you disappear like like a magician, like poof, make you disappear from my channel. Here we are talking about some serious stuff, and here you come with this ridiculous conspiracy mumbo jumbo nonsense. You probably voting for Donald Trump. You probably think he's a good man for the nation and all that kind of stuff. When he's nothing but a fascist, he's trying to cling on to power by any means necessary, even if that means tearing down democracy, even if that means risking people's lives by exposing them to this deadly virus. He don't give a damn about the people. He's all about himself. He's a classic narcissist. Um, yeah, so that's what I have to say. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Shout out to my West Coast people who are tuning in. Y'all are behind us with the time. So right now it's like 1 o'clock here on the East Coast. So I think it's like four-hour difference. So yeah, so I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video, hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content on here. Peace and blessings, everyone. Have a great evening, and I'll see you tomorrow with some more videos. Peace.